What's up, Maniacs? My name is Mex. I'm a wrestling fan, a wrestling enthusiast, a WrestleManiac, if you will. And today, this is going to be one of the last videos in, I guess, this season's Black History Month specials that I've been putting out on my channel, WrestleManiac UK. And I was joined by my two good friends, Ray and Paul, and we wanted to sit down and just chop it up and talk all things black wrestlers from the Attitude Era. Obviously, like I've always said, I lean on those guys heavily when it comes to my knowledge of the Attitude Era. That is their thing. So I got them in and we discussed all of the black names and faces, the prominent ones anyway, that turned up in the Attitude Era, talked about their title runs, talked about the storylines they were involved in, talked about their ceilings, should they have reached anything higher, were they given too much in some people's cases. So it was just a great conversation to have, and I hope you're really going to enjoy this video today. Before we get into the video, please remember to like the video if you are enjoying it, and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Hit the notification button as well so you get notified every time I drop a new video. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, this is our video of the black wrestlers of the Attitude Era. What's up, Maniacs? So this is the last show where we're bringing you in this Black History Month specials that I've put together on my channel. And when you see these guys, Ray, Paul, on the call, you know it is Attitude Era time. So we are going to be talking some of the black wrestlers, great, some not so great, some that were just there filling spaces, some that just were there to give us laughs. We're going to be talking about all of these guys, breaking them down and what they did at this time during the Attitude Era. And yeah, we're just really going to be chopping it up about each of these wrestlers. So let us know down below in the comments your favorite parts, your favorite memories of some of the wrestlers that we're going to talk about today. But yeah, before we get into it, guys, how are we doing?
Good as gold, man. Good as gold.
All good. Happy to be back, man.
Cool. We got a lot of videos to make. We've got people asking us since the SummerSlam review. They were looking for more reviews. Okay. So I think we're going to have a chat. We'll probably do a Survivor Series 2000 review, as next month is the anniversary of Survivor Series 20 years ago, Survivor Series 2000. So we'll touch that one as well. But yeah, we're going to get into the Attitude Eras, some of the wrestlers that really kind of captured our mind from, you know, a black history point of view. And I think a good way to start is by talking about Booker T. So Booker T, as we all know, wasn't actually, you know, WWF, WWE wrestler. He came over during the Invasion angle. What do you guys remember about that in terms of him coming over? I'm pretty sure he was like one of the figureheads at the front of it, right?
Yeah. I think right at the start, he was like the main man leading the charge before all the ducking and diving, people going this way, people going that way. It was Booker T at the head, and I knew about him from WCW, so I knew he was a big fish over there. But when he came over, I was like, little man right over here. You're not really that guy. But I loved his energy. He had a great little feud with Stone Cold at first, and then The Rock afterwards. Yeah, I enjoyed him when he came over. He had a lot of personality, charisma. You know what I mean? Yeah, definitely. I enjoyed him.
I used to watch WCW on Channel 5.
Jeez, back in the day.
Younger lot will remember that. But yeah, I remember there's 1 hour on WCW every week. I used to love Booker T. But The Rock was my guy, obviously. We'll get to The Rock later. So I remember when he came, he was the Rock of WCW.
Yes.
He did the whole five time. The Spinneroonie was meant to be the people's elbow. You know, he started doing the booking, which is the Rock bottom. Yeah, I remember he came over to challenge The Rock. Like, I remember The Rock and him fought for the WCW championship when he first came over.
So am I correct? I was about to ask that. He came over as the WCW World Heavyweight Champion, right?
Yeah.
That was his thing. Like,
yeah.
The funny thing is, if he lost it and won it again, would he start saying 6 times?
Yeah.
He's always 5 times. 5 times.
WCW.
Yeah, he's a good athlete. I think Booker T. He did very well I think he did very well to create himself away from The Rock. Because before he came over, he was The Rock's counterpart in WCW.
Yeah.
He became Booker T rather than The Rock's second, which was good of him. Had a good few matches with The Rock and Stone Cold in the supermarket. I remember.
Oh, epic stuff.
Remember
Yeah.
that one was a good one, and he had a long career after that as well, longer than quite a few of the guys that came over in Invasion.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, like
He
good.
went on, obviously, eventually, this is years down the line now, he won King of the Ring.
Yeah.
He had his missus by his side, Queen Charmel. That's when he became the 6-time world champion.
Yeah.
Never captured, this is outside of the Attitude Era now. He never captured the WWE Championship. And I don't know what it is with WWE. It's like they class you in either the World Heavyweight belt or you give you the actual title of the company. Do you think, like, I don't know, they never quite trusted him to be the face of WWE, or was it because he's a previous WCW guy, you reckon?
No, because they gave it to Chris Jericho, no?
Yeah.
Chris Jericho's the first
The WWE. I mean, that's true, but if we're honest, Chris Jericho never was a big name in WCW like that. He never reached those heights in WCW. Sorry?
As Booker T, you mean?
Yeah. He wasn't a world champion in WCW or anything like that.
I kind of agree. I kind of feel like they never trusted him. I can't even really remember him getting many title shots. I remember there was like, I think it may be 2004, 2005. He got a shot against Triple H.
Yeah, he feuded with Triple H.
We feuded with Triple H.
That racist angle.
that one was, and they made him lose.
I remember Triple H pedigreed him at WrestleMania and pinned him about 3 minutes later.
Yeah.
And won.
And what? No, they really did Booker bad, that one. They did it bad. But yeah, I think there was that aspect.
Yeah. From that one. I don't know if that was a black thing or if that was a WCW thing. Because apart from The Rock, there's not been many black champions that have kind of held the torch, let's say.
Yeah.
At all. I mean, Booker T, in WCW, they gave him a lot, actually. They gave him actually quite a bit in WCW because he had the Harlem Heat with his brother, Stevie Ray, tag team champion.
Top tag team.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they gave him a lot, but to be honest, he didn't get a big one. But I'm trying to play devil's advocate and think of WCW wrestlers that actually have had the WWE Championship, and they didn't give it to Goldberg, did they?
No,
no.
He had the World Heavyweight Championship as well.
But not WWE either.
Yeah, even in later years now, he's got what they've called the Universal Championship, but that's not the WWE Championship. It's just like a new World Heavyweight Championship secondary belt. So, yeah.
I think really, if I think about it, it's only really Chris Jericho who's had a decent run, because I know they gave it to Big Show, but even Big Show, it was like
Has Big Show been WWE champion?
I believe so.
Back in,
I think he was undisputed champion. That other kind of championship.
That was WWE.
That was the WWE championship.
He won it once. When he was crying. I think he won some 6-pack Mac or something. He was crying, bro. I remember. You know the one back in the day with it had like the blue one. The world. Yeah, I think he won that one once.
Oh, the old school one.
The old school one, but he didn't have that for long.
But the thing is, that's what I mean. Like, even the Big Show, was he a world champion in WCW?
No. He was just like a
freak. Yeah, he was just like a cane.
So like the likes of Chris Jericho, Big Show, it's like they were popular guys, but especially by the time they came over to WWE, but it's like they weren't established guys, like,
It's true.
The only one is Stone Cold, really.
Yeah.
And he wasn't an established guy either.
At WCW, he was Stunning Steve. What do you call it?
Stunning Steve Austin. But he wasn't Stone Cold Steve Austin.
The only, like, when I think about that, I know we've kind of gone off kilter a little bit, but when I think about big WCW guys, I'm thinking of NWO, Nash, Hogan, Hall, maybe a bit of Scott Steiner, Sting. Those were the guys, you know what I mean? Everyone else was kind of
and even if we're honest, Booker T got it after all of them.
Yeah.
Booker T should have been world champion at WCW, but way before he was. But yeah, I mean, just bringing it back to Booker, he had a really good run. Like I think Ray said, he is one of the few people that actually survived, all of the influx of everyone coming in at that time and actually staying there, being relevant. Great entertainer, very athletic. I remember some move he used to do was like some 450 like front flip leg drop or
Oh, what's
something.
it?
Like I can't remember what he used to call
Houston
it.
something.
Houston, was it Houston leg drop? No. It was,
Houston takeover.
it was something like that. I can't
Houston
remember.
something.
Hangover or
Yeah.
something like that.
Houston
He did
Hangover. I think that's what
Houston
it was
hangover.
called.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, names.
Yeah. So, moving from Booker T, let's get on to The Rock because The Rock was the person to beat Booker T for that WCW World Heavyweight Championship. I mean, we could be here all day talking about The Rock. I mean, it nearly didn't work out for him. But then let's talk about from the time he came back and kind of got into the Nation of Domination, which is we're probably going to touch on all the members of Nation Domination within this conversation. Do you guys have much memories of Nation of Domination and The Rock's growth within that?
I would say yes and no. I remember very vividly when they were having the spat with DX. I remember that happening. But then I remember kind of because Farouk was like the head at first, and then The Rock kind of like built up, and it was quite interesting to watch. But then I wasn't there from the beginning when it was kind of just like he was part of the group rather than like the main front runner.
Yeah.
But I did really enjoy that faction. I think that it was very divisive with the whole Black Power thing, but yeah, I did quite enjoy them, especially The Rock within it.
But like everybody knows, I guess everybody knows by now the brass ring story with Vince McMahon saying to The Rock, when he's Rocky Maivia, it was a sideman, and then Vince McMahon said to him, "Okay, you do your thing." I think that's when he was at the beginning of Nation of Domination, and that's when The Rock developed, because he just used to go out and start talking rubbish, but as part of them. So obviously Farouk was the leader, but I think Farouk and The Rock are friends. But when Creative or whoever started seeing the buzz that The Rock was getting, that's when I think they've developed that storyline to create conflict between The Rock and Farouk, and Ron Simmons, whatever. So yeah, from my early experience of Nation of Domination was just The Rock going out and literally, because the crowd used to boo him.
Oh my gosh,
like obscene chants as well.
Honestly, yeah.
Man, like die Rocky die.
Yeah.
So the Rock used to go out literally and just rip the crowd apart, rip them apart. And I remember that feud of DX when he was ripping into like Billy Gunn and X Pac and all these men, and he didn't care. Like The Rock didn't care, and that's how that was like kind of one of the main stalwarts of the Attitude Era. It was him and Stone Cold. Stone Cold on the anti-authority thing, and The Rock was the guy who just had attitude. So I don't think he gets as much credit for creating the Attitude Era as people give him. Like The Rock does get a lot of credit in wrestling per se, but I think people underestimate how much he did, because he was one of the first guys, other than Austin, to just come out and talk to the crowd, because Triple H didn't.
Yeah.
Triple H pandered. He was like the corporate guy, like he used to wear the crown and that, like get that whole royalty vibe.
Yeah.
But The Rock was the first guy to just talk smack, like show attitude. And then obviously he built up the rival with Farouk, took over Nation of Domination. Eventually they became a face faction, and then he switched up again with the corporation. I'm digressing, but yeah. First memories of Nation of Domination was just The Rock, literally just talking crud every week, doing what he wanted, like because the fans were booing him. So he thought, you know what, let me be a real heel. And
let me drink it in, soak it in.
Golden TV. I was too young to even clock some of the things that was being said. But
that's when you watch it back now, it's just like, man got away with this.
Honestly.
I mean, he then obviously went on to become very much The Rock that we all fell in love with, the Versace shirts, the swagger, the sunglasses, the Jerry curl on his head, the people's eyebrow that followed, everything, literally everything about him. He could do no wrong. When the mic was about to touch his lips, jokes was about to come out, someone was about to get insulted, or he was just about to give you something to, mimic along with and repeat with him, the if you smells and all that kind of stuff, checking into the SmackDown hotel. Like, he had them for days. Like,
he had all the catchphrases.
Like, he literally had them all. Like, I think I was saying on another show that there's not one of us that, you know, were wrestling fans that you can't say at that time wouldn't have went to school and given someone, you know, it doesn't matter what you think, or you know, a people's eyebrow in the playground. Like, you couldn't have been a wrestling fan them times and not have repeated one of those actions from The Rock. Like,
he was like, especially, and I think personally that era is my favorite Rock. Like when he kind of came into his own, and even through corporate Rock, like the way he used to talk on the mic, even when he was heel, even when he was corporate Rock, the energy he would give, the way he would interact with the crowd, he had insults for days. He didn't seem to ever get flustered. I don't remember him ever messing up a line. All the catchphrases, like, and at the end of the day, he wasn't an amazing wrestler, but he had that energy, that electricity, that he would do the same set pattern moves, but you want to see it.
The five moves of doom. I think it's become very popular in wrestling now, because especially in WWE, because they want, being entertainment, they want the crowd to like know what's happening next.
Yeah.
Like, so that's why it's like, you knew what was gonna happen. You saw the spine buster. You knew a people's elbow was coming. Like so it's very kind of like a pattern sort of thing. Just to round up on The Rock, obviously he went on to have probably one of the greatest rivalries with Stone Cold Steve Austin, which I mean, I guess some people would say that which ended the Attitude Era when he finally got the win over Austin. When it comes to the biggest stars in wrestling, these are obviously the two that are mentioned, Austin and The Rock. Do you ever think at one point Rock was number one? Assuming that, you know, I think most people say Stone Cold is, you know, is the biggest star. Was there any one point would you say Rock was number one?
I think when Austin went for like a year, I think The Rock moved into that space.
Okay.
And
are you saying that because he moved by default? I mean more like, was there anything that he did maybe when Austin was there to overtake him, at least for you?
Personally, no, because I'm a Stone Cold fan.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm a Stone Cold fan, so first Stone Cold is always number one. But I could, I think, rewatching stuff, I could appreciate that. Maybe I don't think so actually, but I do think like it was like a close second. There'll be times I'll be watching him just on the mic. He'll just come out, you know, randomly, like nothing's happening. He comes out and he's on the mic for 20 minutes, and I would just love it. And I'd just be like, I think he's better than Stone Cold on the mic. And then sometimes don't, you know what I mean? But I just feel like he was, if anything, at best, he was joint. It was one of those things, especially the fact that, you know, when SmackDown started, that was literally off the back of him, you know, and he owned SmackDown. And it was just like, he was the guy. When the music hit, you're gassed, you want to see him. Yeah, there was probably a time when I think it was maybe like a week by week basis. It just depended what was happening, really. Yeah.
I mean, I think The Rock is definitely the best mic man, hands down, to ever do it. I don't think anyone comes close to The Rock as a mic man. But if I'm going to be honest, he only took that number one spot because Stone Cold wasn't there. His feud with Triple H was great because they were such polarizing characters. Triple H was a very serious guy. He was good on the mic, but he was a serious guy. Never jokey or just serious. Oh, I'm the game. You know.
The game.
His promos now are so much better than when he was in the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
His Attitude Era promos were very simple, straight to the point, whereas The Rock could go for days. But it was definitely down to that Stone Cold injury, because it's like, to be honest, he would have never got an opportunity if Stone Cold was still there. You know what I mean? It was always those three were the main guys. There was a time when Stone Cold left, and it was Triple H and The Rock. Then Triple H got injured, I think. Then it was The Rock and Stone Cold. Then The Rock went away to do his movies. Then it was Triple H and Austin. And then Kurt Angle came into that mix as well. So, but the greatest, it always has to be Stone Cold. Sorry to say it, but Stone Cold is all over, all round. It's got to be Stone Cold. And to be fair, both of them had very short careers. Like, both of their careers pretty much spanned Attitude Era in the WWE, WWF, whatever, because after 2001, when Rock did Scorpion King, he was no longer full time.
Yeah, don't really
came back, did a stint for the invasion, storyline. That was really his last bit of work. I think he feuded with Undertaker and Kurt Angle in 2002, and then that was it. Like, so when you compare careers now, like when you think of the New Day, have been around for like what 10 plus years.
Yeah, Kofi Kingston's been about for about 11 years now. 11, 12 years, yeah.
There was that whole big thing about him being WWE champion after 10 years or whatever. The Rock didn't even last 10 years in the business.
That is true if you kind of look at it that way.
If you kind of look at it, yeah.
Like, the Rock started in 96, really? And he was gone by 2002.
Even with all his stints that he's come back and stuff, I wouldn't add up to 10 years.
I wouldn't even add them in. I mean, he came back and then he did the whole feud with Goldberg and then Stone Cold, and then he was like gone again. Yeah,
he's come back after that. He's done John Cena, CM Punk, but even those are like 6 months at a time, maybe at tops. Like,
but like an extended run, like because he didn't really get injured, but as like a run. It was 6 years at most. So when you think about how short his career was, it's actually quite
impact
amazing. Yeah, the impact that he had on WWE.
Cool. All right, just so let's move back and look at kind of the Nation of Domination as a whole. Obviously, we kind of subtract The Rock from there. We've spoken about The Rock. So we had Farouk at that time as the leader. We had Godfather in there for a period. D'Lo Brown was in there. Mark Henry. Some of these guys, like for instance, D'Lo Brown. Obviously, just to kind of fill you guys' knowledge in, right now being a double champion in wrestling is pretty much a thing. Like everyone wants to carry 2 belts at a time, and if I remember, I'm not necessarily talking about inside Nation Domination right now, but D'Lo Brown might have been one of the first black double champions, because I remember he held the European Championship and the Intercontinental Championship at the same time. Yeah,
I remember that.
And I'm not really sure why that doesn't get spoke of.
It was very big. It was like
at the time, was it very big?
I believe so, because I remember like every time I used to see him come out, especially just like after Nation, so maybe 98 times, he was always wearing European. I can't remember a time when he wasn't carrying European. And then he started carrying, then he won the Intercontinental as well, when it was like, I never thought he would break that barrier to like start challenging for
the world titles.
I don't think he was that type of character, but he was so, again, he had that charisma and personality, not really on the mic, but through his wrestling, his moves, his neck, and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, but he was really one of them guys. Like he was a competent wrestler. He had the charisma, and it's like he didn't feel out of place carrying those belts. I didn't feel like, this is just some hand me or something like that.
He was in his lane, basically.
He was in his lane, 100%.
Mid-card wrestler, innit? Like,
yeah, solid mid-card wrestler.
Typical, but that's the problem with these guys. I think what sets the mid card apart from the top is the mic skills, because he was a very good wrestler, D'Lo Brown. Like, I used to love the Lowdown.
That was amazing. The one is just up and then bang. Yeah. Sick.
Good wrestler, like I said, very good in the ring. His charisma in the ring, he could tell a story, like similar to Road Dogg in DX. He was like that. But yeah, I mean, too gimmicky, I think, on the whole, to ever break the glass ceiling. Like,
yeah, definitely. He didn't have that seriousness when he needed to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The problem is you can be an entertainer, but if you go kind of too far down that joke kind of road, it's very far to come back. And be believed by people in other way. Had the Godfather. Obviously, after Nation and stuff, he then had his whole the pimp thing. And then even within the Attitude Era, he didn't change again to the Good Father. What did you guys think of the Godfather's career? Because to be honest, that was probably, obviously he done some bits before the Attitude Era, but that was probably the end of his run. And when he probably garnered the most popularity within his career. So what did you guys think of the Godfather, just in general?
You know what? He's one of those gimmicky characters who, whenever he came out, he'd get more of a pop than most. Obviously, that was due to the ladies, but I think his character kind of captured the time. So it was all about, it was raunchy, it was sexy, it was whatever you wanted it to be. It was, you know, you have your hoes and it was in your face. You have all these beautiful women. He's coming out with them. He's got a pimp stick. He's got, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think he captured the era. And obviously there was just a lot of guys and girls in the crowd who were just going crazy because of like his whole character. As a wrestler, I didn't really think he was much to write home about, but you know, just his character. I remember he'd come out for Royal Rumble and he'd bringing out a whole train just to get thrown over the top rope about 3 wrestlers later. You know what I mean? But that was like, he served his purpose. He obviously wasn't there other than to make up numbers, but then to give the crowd a boost. It's like tactically placing him. Okay, there are a couple low carded to mid carders are coming out. Then Godfather comes out. Then everyone's gassed because they want to see the buff girls come through. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I can appreciate him, but you know, he has his place and his lane, and it's just
I think that's the problem, you know. Like, we're talking about Black History Month, and a lot of these, I think, is a sign of the times as well. Now, black guys are getting more of an opportunity, but back in the mid '90s towards the early noughties, these black guys were being used as just fillers, gimmicks. You know what I mean?
Characters.
Who is a pimp? Like, I mean, come on, like,
it is bad when you
stereotypes nuts, isn't it? Like a big black guy who's a pimp coming out with lots of white women in skimpy bikinis and bras. It's like, and to be honest, Godfather, when you watched him in Right to Censor, he was actually a good wrestler. He wasn't.
I was gonna get onto that. I really enjoyed him in Right to Censor as the good father.
Him and Paul Buchanan.
Yes, they're
very good tag team. Like,
I really enjoyed their tag team because Paul Buchanan is a very good wrestler, very good wrestler, and I think they complemented each other well. They were both big guys. You know, they had that, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, they were brawlers almost. You know what I mean? They were tough, but they could wrestle.
Like a good big man tag team, like similar to how Undertaker and Kane, Testa and Albert, they were a genuinely good big tag team. Like, they got sold short. They didn't ever win a title, I believe. But I mean, when you look at the talent that Godfather, Kamen Mustafa, whatever you want to call him, he repackaged so many times. The talent he had, but then he just used to be most known for the orange waistcoat,
the green trousers,
and come out with hose. And it's like, I'm going to be the controversial guy and say, I mean, Black lives didn't matter back then. Like, let's be real. They didn't. They just let them come in. Like, I mean, it's like, they're going to put you in here to do this. But when you saw the talent this guy actually had, it's a bit disappointing that he didn't get more of a push because of the time that he was wrestling in. You know,
it's the slot that some of these guys come in. You know, when I think what I've learned, kind of really looking at wrestling within the last 5 years, it's all about timing. And if you come with like a sick character, okay, let's even go back to Booker T. Booker T, by the time he was away from Harlem Heat, the tag team, and he was coming up as a singles wrestler, you know, he was a brilliant TV champion that they had in WCW. This guy should have been world champion, like I say, before he was world champion, but the timing was wrong because Sting and all of these other guys were still there, still occupying those spaces. And if we go back to the Godfather, where, yes, they might have seen his ability in that and thought, okay, this guy's good, let's put him on TV. But we're never going to do anything great with him because we've got this name and this name and this name all occupying that space right now. Well, sir, if you want to be on TV, we have this character, you know, can you dance around, choo-choo train, dance with some women, blah, blah, blah. We'll call you the good father. I want to be on TV. I want to make money. The answer is yes. So... Unfortunately, I mean, I understand it looks like it may have fallen more to our people than anyone else. But
bro, I was gonna say, because I know they came just after Attitude Era. Maybe they slipped just in, but maybe I'm jumping the gun. But when as soon as you said all the gimmicky, I'm just thinking of Too Cool. You know what I mean? I'm thinking straight to, and you weren't even seeing them wrestle. I'm sure Godfather would come in, do his Ho Train move and bounce from whatever, and that was it. What the hell was even his finisher? What was his name? What was his name?
Imagine
the whole train.
Splash in the corner. Imagine that.
That's disrespect.
Bruv.
Yeah.
I mean,
Two
talking
cool-
about comparisons, I've got what last person that part of the nation that we mentioned, Mark Henry. Now Mark Henry came in as almost like an American hero, with his weightlifting prowess. I say comparison because obviously at the same time you got to think of Kurt Angle and Kurt Angle's ability and his debut year that he had, and Mark Henry kind of did get a push coming straight in, but fell to the wayside. Started doing comedy, sexual chocolate. I don't even know where that all came out from.
Mate.
Like,
Oh mate,
him and Mae Young had a child, and it was a hand.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell was going on there? Like, what do you guys remember of all that?
It was just a mess because I remember him coming in world's strongest man, and then all of a sudden it was his sexual chocolate, and he's coming out and he's always smiling. He's a big man, like he comes out smiling, and then he's having this relationship with Mae Young, and then he's always protecting her. He was just like he just became like a side man. Like you forgot that he was this 300 pounds plus guy. He could throw anyone around. He could probably hang with the best. And yeah, he, as much as like you could say it was funny in some places, it was beneath him, in my opinion. It was way beneath him. And I think maybe they didn't know what to do with him. I didn't really enjoy it. Mark Henry was one of those characters when I used to play the games when I was younger. You just skip past, you know what I mean? Mark Henry. And it's a shame because, again, like Ray was saying, black lives didn't really matter. No. Apart from The Rock, maybe D'Lo Brown, no one else was really saying much.
Yeah.
I mean, I was gonna say Rikishi, but we'll get back to that though. But Mark Henry was like, I don't know, how are they gonna put Mark Henry with Mae Young? Like, not even a hottie, not even Sable or not even Jacqueline.
Not even Jacqueline. I was gonna bring her up as well.
It's a joke, like, and it's exactly. It's almost as to say, you know what, you can be all you want to be in the powerlifting and weightlifting world. But Vince McMahon said in WWE, you're my bitch. Let's be real, because you've got a powerful man out there. Like, he's sold already. Like, he won the Arnold whatever, didn't he? Powerlifting championship.
That's why they bring them in, because of the name value. Him, Kurt Angle, ex-Olympic champion.
And they come in and give him that storyline.
Yeah, that's
it's
ridiculous.
Like, come on, man. This guy's could be a clean WWE champion. Really, honestly, because who else could have
overpower him?
You know what I mean? If you put him in a ring against Stone Cold, how are you gonna sell Stone Cold beating Mark Henry? Did they even wrestle?
Someone you call the world's strongest man.
Yeah.
Shouldn't really lose to anyone at that point.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't even think they wrestled. I don't think he wrestled any of the top guys. So I think he was just like a comedic element, and then he became part of Nation of Domination, like a henchman.
Yeah.
It wasn't until many years later they gave him a
run.
Push. When he started growing his hair long and
get that beard,
get the hair's kicked. That's when he started becoming very menacing. But I mean, in terms of the Attitude Era.
And this is what I mean with the direct comparison with Kurt Angle, because Kurt Angle more or less came with a similar background. Obviously, Kurt Angle had crazy ability, but Kurt Angle had the best rookie year. Better than anybody. Better than anyone. Yeah. Man won the European Championship. He won the world title within like 6-7 months.
Yeah.
And
even that was a surprise. I know we're going
unheard of, but like I said, this is someone Olympic champion versus world's strongest man. These two worlds and the worlds they came from aren't very different. So apart from ability, one literally got skyrocketed, and the other one had was the father of a hand. Like
it's a shame, and like Ray was saying, I think it was UMEX, the push he got when he became world champion. And he was kind of feuding with Undertaker, I think, and whoever was on SmackDown. I think that's where he won the title. I quite enjoyed that at the time because he had that menacing look. I did kind of think they fed into that whole big black man kind of thing, but it worked. It worked, and he was powerful. He was like unstoppable. I even loved that promo he cut with John Cena when he said he was retiring.
Yeah.
And,
That's when Mark Henry like began, basically, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
That's obviously he went on from there to become world heavyweight champion. But I mean, just to end up on Nation of Domination, obviously the leader, Farouk, Ron Simmons, first ever black world champion ever. He won it in WCW, so that's an accolade you can take to the grave. You know, that's big. But for me, just as a wrestler, Farouk Ron Simmons never really done it for me personally. I was never really a fan.
Really?
I only ever really had interest in him in the APA. And even then, I was a massive Bradshaw fan. I don't know what it is. I can't, it's very hard for me to say something positive about Farouk. I just never really was interested. I didn't really get him. I don't have nothing negative to say, but I just don't have much, positive to say either.
I'll let you go first, Ray.
Hey. I don't know what you were watching. Farouk. You don't think Farouk was a good
Not a good wrestler. Just in terms of just a captivating character. He just never done it for me.
You know what it was? It's because Bradshaw, they gave Bradshaw the highlight reel, Clothesline from Hell. You know, when everybody does the backflips and they hit the clothesline. But Farouk was you know what it is that they portrayed him in a boring manner. Like
maybe I bought into that. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Of the acolytes, he was the solid, probably the better wrestler of the two.
Probably.
Bradshaw just used to steal the show with the Clothesline from Hell, B.S. Willie and Texan kind of thing. Because to be honest, when Bradshaw became JBL, I thought he was terrible. I thought he was one of the worst.
I loved it.
WWE champions.
Really? Oh, I love JBL.
I love JBL.
I love JBL. He was a great heel.
I think he was a good talker, but as a wrestler,
he's not the greatest wrestler, but he did everything else for me. He took the
and he lost that the Bradshaw gimmick. What I loved about him, he started wearing the suits and that cowboy hat.
That banged.
He became rich.
That banged.
The whole Wall Street thing. I like the beer swilling Texan rough boy with the APA, like a protection agency, not this suit wearing. Mate, and for you to say that Farouk is the boring one, nah, man. I think Farouk was of them all, and I think the respect that Farouk gets now as well from the alumni, the WWE alumni.
Yeah, a lot of respect.
Just shows how much of a guy he was. Like he just didn't have the exciting personality, I guess. But as a wrestler, I think amazing wrestler, Farouk, solid wrestler.
He was definitely a solid wrestler.
Just not flashy. He wasn't the Rock. He wasn't a Booker T. He wasn't even a D'Lo Brown in that essence. But
yeah, he was just your solid guy. I mean, I think I remember go back to when they were the Acolytes, and they were both very dry. You know, they didn't do any talking. It was just rough and tumble. You know, and I loved his spine buster. His spine buster was amazing. His I did like, what was this? The Dominator. I love that finisher as well. That one look, and they just looked like you couldn't mess with them. It didn't matter who was coming; they were tough. And then I think
as a child, I used to love that thing they tie around their biceps.
Yeah, that's just like some of the black thing, just
look very hard,
like it's just ready to just pop off. And then when they became APA, I think that's when they both were allowed to shine a little bit because they would have that door. That like that's like
in the middle of a room.
In the middle of a room, and then you would come there, and then you'd tell them like, "Oh, you need you to bad up or protect us from these man." And that's when you'll be there just backing beer and playing cards every time, and people say, "Oh, how much you gonna pay?" Blah blah blah. Yeah. And then I kind of see like Bradshaw's career kind of took off, and Farouk was, I mean, he was never really gonna shine as like a singles career or anything like that. And then he was just out here saying "damn" every second now. So, you know, but big respect to Farouk, man.
No, 100%, big legend. Just for me personally, doesn't do it for me, but he's a legend out here. Moving on to another legend. He's a legend of the tag team game. Devon Dudley, 9-time WWE, WWF tag team champion with his brother Bubba Ray. One of the innovators of probably one of the best matches in wrestling, the TLC match. We saw Devon in his later days. I just think maybe just out of the Attitude Era, might have been, the last days of the Attitude Era, go into Reverend Devon, if you guys remember that.
Yeah, with Batista.
Batista as the guy with the collection plate.
Yeah.
What are you guys' memories of Devon Dudley?
I mean, unpopular opinion again. Of the 6, in terms of the innovators of the TLC, I think he was the worst. He was the most...
As in worst wrestler, or...
He was just the most unexciting. Like, Edge and Christian were very exciting. The Hardy Boys were exciting. And honestly, I don't want to sound like an Uncle Tom, but he was very much, for me, Bubba Ray Dudley's sidekick.
I think that's how it was portrayed a lot. Yeah, to be fair.
I mean, for me, like, even as a wrestler, not that exciting. On the mic, he used to say, testify. That's all he used to say, right?
He had his little gospel preaching gimmick sort of thing.
Yeah, whether that was the creative's vision for him, it's not his fault. If that's what creative said they want him to do, that's what they want him to do. But, I mean, for me, in terms of the stalwart black wrestlers, for me, he's afterthought. Like, he's just very much so afterthought. And I hate to say it. I'm sure he gets respect in the back, in the locker room. But for what I saw on TV, like...
I believe he's a producer now. He produces on SmackDown.
I'm sure he's got big respect backstage.
Yeah.
But for what I saw, like, when you compare him to the greats...
Just didn't do it for you.
Greats, you know. You always think Bubba Ray, sadly.
Bro, I've got to agree. You know, it's one of them ones where, like, you know, if you're playing SmackDown back in the day and you want to do Dudley's team, no one wants to be Devon.
Nah.
No one wants to be Devon. You know, and I don't know what it was. When I think about everything to do with the Dudleys as a whole, I love the tag team. I love the 3D. I love the tables. But I felt like Bubba Ray always had the more exciting part. He was the one who was saying, get the tables. He was the one doing the most exciting part of the 3D. He was the one who was like even doing what's up, and then like, you know what I mean? Like, he had the atomic.
Bubba Ray was the leader of the two.
He was the leader, and
100%,
he was the one who was the most exciting. He even came across more athletic than Devon sometimes. He would be the one like doing, like, you know, off the ladder doing crazy things, and Devon always sold moves in a way that always annoyed me as well. He'd always start acting like he's having a fit or something. I don't know, like, a big respect to him, obviously, like a part of an amazing tag team, and obviously it wouldn't have been the same without him. But yes, I don't know, he's just very uninspiring, unfortunately, when I was growing up.
I think, I mean, if you look at those times, you know, a lot of guys were, in terms of talent, a lot of guys weren't, you know, very athletic to start off with. Things like looking after your body as an athlete, someone that's going to be on TV, you know, guys just wore t-shirts and tank tops to hide what their body really looked like a lot of the time. Obviously, drinking culture, smoking culture was all still much happening. Especially with their background coming from ECW, which is all about hardcore wrestling. You know, they didn't have to do much in the ring from such a place as their origin. Had an amazing WWE career, like we said. He's always going to go down as a Hall of Famer, the Dudley Boys. No one's ever going to really examine him as Devon on his own. His singles run completely fell apart with that whole church gimmick. You know, after 6-7 months, he was put back with Bubba Ray. He will always just be a part of one of the greatest tag teams ever. And that's all it is. You know, he's a Hall of Famer already. So
that's it, That's
you know, I guess in that sense, he's got away with one. But
definitely, in a sense.
But to be honest, he's a stalwart of knowing your role and playing it. Like,
yeah, I guess so.
That's it. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with that in life. You stick to what you're good at, and he's a Hall of Famer for it. You know, he's got respect in the back. He said he's a producer. Because we're talking about black brilliance. For me, he's just not that. But
that's when he's so black.
No. He's just solid. He's a solid guy, and there's nothing solid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everybody could be the best, then they wouldn't be the best.
Then they wouldn't be the best. Yeah,
you're at the top. you know, and only a few at the top. When you think of even black wrestlers that got to the top, there's one or two. Like in the Attitude Era, even now, you know, it's still a struggle.
And even if we're honest, you know, Bubba Ray didn't really get to do what he wanted to do in WWE. He never got to the top. Edge and Christian, Edge had the more successful career. Jeff Hardy probably had a more successful career than his brother in terms of WWE.
But they all touched championship.
Bubba Ray touched World Championship in TNA. He never touched it in WWE.
In WWE, yeah.
So,
He didn't
what did you say?
Did he get an ECW world title before?
I don't think so.
Nah.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
He was, because it's very true. Edge had a run. Christian, I remember Christian was champion. Edge was champion.
Yeah, Christian even touched it. But I mean, Edge was the one out of the two.
Yeah, of course. But just the fact that everyone kind of had a singles career, you know, apart from really the Dudleys generally.
Yeah, the Dudleys didn't really.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's talk about Viscera. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. King Mabel came before Viscera, right?
Yeah.
As a character. I have nothing to say about this guy apart from he was my sister's favorite wrestler.
Any reason why?
I have absolutely nothing. I don't know. No, but I think just because he was just big and scary looking when it came to playing games, when it came to watching Sunday Night Heat, would always watch out for when Viscera was on TV. And I have nothing positive or anything else to say about him. Rest in peace, obviously. But how did he even get from King Mabel to Viscera? Why did he even ever win King of the Ring?
I think it was the whole Ministry of Darkness thing where I think not say he took off, but that's where he kind of like found that role. Like he was like a Ministry of Darkness henchman. Like he used to always run out, like whenever Undertaker was getting batted up, him, Big Boss Man, them man would run out and, you know, be the lackeys and stuff like that, and people for Stone Cold to stun her and them man there. But you know what? Like again, there's not much for me to say. I can't pick out any match where he was amazing. He was a very simple character. I remember he had that rolling scissor, like rolling kick move thing, and everyone always used to say like he was so athletic for a big man. But that was the only thing I saw him do. And then he had his splash, which was, you know. So I mean, big up him. He played another man played his role.
You know
what I mean, and played it well.
This is a constant argument when I meet up with the wresthings boys. Shout out them on their podcast. There is a particular guy, Sam Blacks. He's always arguing that Viscera should be in top 5 big men of all time.
Of all time?
I do not believe that's the case, and I'm hoping that you guys don't either.
I can't see it because I just went through top of my head 5 big men already clear.
I mean, when we're talking about big men, I think it's, if you want to class it, someone that's over 300 pounds, so maybe like Undertaker and some of these names come into play. I don't see how Viscera makes top 5.
I don't know.
Black big men or just big
no,
men?
just in general, top 5 big men of all time.
He's
clutching.
Yeah,
I
don't see it.
I don't even.
He comes in personal preference.
Yeah. Put it down to personal preference.
It was all right though. He had his time. You know, he had his time. But I mean,
I think he ECW champion at a time when when they had their
the reboot.
The reboot thing. I think he was ECW champion for a bit.
But I guess that was after Attitude Era times though.
Yeah, but I mean,
but he won King of the Ring in the what's that?
Yeah, that's what I mean. When it was as King Mabel.
Yeah.
Before Attitude Era, what did they call it again? What did they call it?
It wasn't King of the Ring.
Or what did they call the era before Attitude Era?
What was it? Warzone.
Warzone, that's it.
Yeah, Warzone.
Something like that. Yeah. So they must have given him some kind of rating at one point, but I think he didn't
move on because that King of the Ring, especially then, was used as a launch pad to the title, to the World Championship.
Yeah, definitely.
And he wasn't world champion, so I think that says a lot there. Right. Let's talk about some women. We had Jacqueline, we had Jazz. Jacqueline's first ever black female world champion or women's champion. I remember Jacqueline and Jazz both having quite short runs. And I don't think, obviously, Trish Stratus and Lita completely stole the women's division for their own. But I feel like Jacqueline and Jazz had a big part to play, and their names often don't get mentioned as like a pillar within that women's division at that time.
Jacqueline got done dirty, I think.
Massively.
In terms of what?
She was better than, other than China, she was the next best up, I think.
Yeah.
100%.
Like, she was definitely the next best up. I just think maybe she just didn't have the look, or
that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
It was that era of like sexy, and it's not that she was an unattractive woman, but in terms of what was being pushed, it wasn't her.
Yeah.
She would come out with her like a bikini top and stuff, but there were no, like, she was never in any of those matches. And she at the time, in terms of where women's wrestling was, she was, like Ray was saying, she was second behind China, but it was only China they were focused on. And then you were looking at the Trishes and the Sables and Miss Cat, or whatever her name was, as them lot as just as eye candy, you know what I mean? And Jacqueline just kind of fell on the wayside a bit.
Like, honestly, when it comes to speaking talent in the women's division at that time, I'm thinking of Lita, I'm thinking of China. Trish Stratus did a hell of a lot to build herself up and build her talent. She worked hard for it. A lot of the rest of them just kind of seemed to coast, let their body kind of do the talking for them. But Jacqueline and Jazz, like I say, they were there. I know Jazz came probably a bit later, but these guys, especially Jazz, were pretty athletic, very believable people, and their names just don't really get mentioned.
I kind of feel like Jazz was another step in the direction of women's wrestling becoming more of like an actual thing, rather than just, bikinis and stuff flying all over the place. Like, Jazz could wrestle, and she was kind of like that adversary to Trish at the time. And she was just like outpowering her, out wrestling her. And it was obviously clearly like a hurdle for Trish to get over as the face. But Jazz was a very good wrestler. Again, I felt like they were kind of coming away from women with the bra and panties. But again, she kind of wasn't there. She wasn't likable enough as a heel to kind of get, so it kind of just all fell apart, unfortunately.
To be honest, even the platform that the women have now, if put Jacqueline in this era now, she would have flown. But I mean, it's just the time, like
timing.
Trish Stratus, like Lita. Funny that you mentioned Lita. Honestly, I think Lita was a horrific wrestler.
Really?
There's so many botched moves.
There was a lot of botched.
There was a lot of botched moves.
Terrible. Like, absolutely. I feel like it started off as she was S.A. Rios, wasn't she?
Yeah.
So many botched moonsaults. Then with the Hardy Boys, the same thing. She was trying to. They put the two high flyers together. Obviously, Matt Hardy and Lita had their relationship, but she was terrible. She was bad. Like, she just had a look. Same with Trish. Trish, they put everything behind Trish because Trish had the look, and they taught her how to become a wrestler. And in the end, she became like, competent. But Jackie and Jazz already had it. They had it in them already. Like the quality, the talent, like from performance or whatever. They just were a victim of the time. Like, even more so than people like Godfather and stuff. They were a victim of the time.
100%. Yeah, even if
women's wrestling then was way behind.
Way back. Nobody wanted to see it.
Yeah.
No one wanted to see it.
People just
were wrestling half naked.
And panties. Like when you had people like Stacey Keebler coming through and Tori Wilson,
Keebs.
Yeah, that was it.
Like when you look at Charlotte now and Sasha Banks,
Naomi.
Big fan of Sasha Banks. Naomi,
hella talent.
Bare talent.
It's crazy, but I mean that's evolution for you, It's a different time.
It's because Jazz was doing fisherman suplex and all them kind of moves from early.
Jazz just retired like a week ago, officially, like she wasn't in WWE. Obviously, she's been doing like independent. I don't know. She's been doing like independent shows, and I think her and her husband have their own like little promotion or something. Like she just retired like last week or so. She just announced it.
48. Oh wow, big up her, man. Yeah, honestly, like that massive victim of the time. Those two would thrive in today's women's wrestling market, and it's just unfortunate that they didn't fit the look of the time.
I always felt that when asked to do one of these like bikini segments or something silly like that, Jacqueline looked so uncomfortable. It's like, I
Yeah.
just do not want to be here, sort of thing.
Because she never really went all the way. She'd do the top half, but the bottom half, she'd always be left with her trousers on or something.
Yeah, shy away
top,
from it.
yeah, the top might come off, but that was about it. Yeah, where Kat and them lot would be naked before they even got to the ring.
Easy peasy.
Straight in.
No problem. Okay, we're rounding off. We're rounding off in terms of the names and the wrestlers that were prominent at that time, the black wrestlers. I thought of a few honorable mentions. I think one guy we have to mention wasn't a wrestler per se, but gave us a lot of brilliant moments. Jonathan Coachman.
Sheesh.
We got to mention the coach.
Coach.
Obviously, this guy's went on to do really good stuff. He's a ESPN broadcaster. Come back in, done commentary again with WWE. But the coach, especially with The Rock backstage, again, loads of brilliant moments.
They were money, man. The relationship they had backstage, the chemistry. Coach is just taking every insult under the sun, and it's like, why'd you keep coming back for more? Every time he'd be there, innocent guy, oh, what do you think about this, Rock? And then it's like, hey, coach, why did you grab this, turn around, kick him out the door, something like that. Yeah, it was amazing. He played his role really, really well.
Yeah. I have one more honorable mention, and this is a kind of a cheat because by dates, as what we identified to be the Attitude Era, this guy just falls just out of it during the same year of 2002. If 2002 was the ending of the Attitude Era, he just came a matter of months afterwards. Shelton Benjamin.
He was the second person I thought of.
Massive talent.
Yeah, I saw the timing.
Team Angle, literally till this day, one of my favorite things that ever happened in wrestling. Him, Charlie Haas, Kurt Angle just running scared from Brock Lesnar with that title. Yeah, I just feel Shelton Benjamin is someone that, I guess because, again, no mic ability, no real mic ability. He didn't push on, he didn't kick on. He got all those mid-card titles, multiple time tag team championship. He's still on TV today, running around with the Hurt Business as they are now. But yeah, Shelton Benjamin would have been someone from early that you thought, this guy has something. If you learn how to use a microphone, this guy has something.
It was just a shame.
Nah, you first though.
Okay, me first. You know what? I felt like he got that push. I remember, I think one of his first matches post Team Angle, and he beat Triple H on Raw. And that's when he was banging the T-bone suplex. And he was so athletic. He had the look, the tenacity. He had enough seriousness about him. I kind of felt like he was coming into his own, but I kind of felt it was too late. I felt like he needed to have a better year or two coming out of the gate, but he had zero mic ability. I don't even remember him on the mic.
What it is. Yeah.
It was one of those ones where even he would just be saying one word. Like, I remember he was cutting a promo with Triple H, and Triple H would have the mic for the whole time, and then he might lean in and say one word, like, I don't know, talking about how aggressive or how he's going to beat. Like, just, that's it. Triple H would do all the work.
All the heavy lifting.
And then he would kind of come out and he was doing that kind of cool guy when he was Intercontinental Champion, and he was wearing like nice clothes and he was a bit better. But by that time, he kind of unfortunately fell into that Intercontinental lane, and he was never really gonna, he was never really gonna come out of that. But I did think he had bags of potential. I think he had the look, he had the ability, he was athletic and strong, but I just feel like it just fell a bit short for him, unfortunately.
No, I don't agree at all with you, Max. I think
Shelton Benjamin.
I think he was just an athletic guy, like an athletic athlete.
Don't do that.
That's what I mean.
Ladder match merchant, like, Just...
Stop. I was about to say ladder match merchant.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything more than that. You know what? To be honest, you remember Kofi Kingston when he used to jump around the ring in some stupid ways?
His Royal Rumble spots.
Yeah. That's what Shelton Benjamin reminded me. Every ladder match, you'll be waiting for him to
run up the ladder,
run up the ladder, 450, spear someone off the. Like honestly, and I think that was his limit. That was his limit for me. Like I like Team Angle as a tag team, similar to Devon and Bubba. Him and Charlie Haas worked very well as a pair, but as a singles competitor, nah, man. Just I didn't see it, to be honest. I remember when he beat Triple H, but we all knew it was just to rock the boat and say, "Oh, is this guy gonna trouble Triple H?" And we knew Triple H was gonna come back and destroy it.
yeah.
Like, there's never like a question of, "Is this the guy to threaten Triple H's monarchy?" No way.
No, of course not. Yeah.
But no.
No, this is. I mean, that's fair. That's what I mean. He had the ability. Like, definitely, he had the ability. We never saw anything in terms of mic skills and character building. You know, if years on, what would you still class Shelton Benjamin if asked? Some people probably still say, "Oh yeah, you know, he was a NCAA champion in college or something." He's never built a character. You talk about Brock Lesnar, who was his counterpart, who came up with him. He's the beast incarnate, the guy that beat Undertaker's streak. You know, you've got accolades and stuff to say about Brock Lesnar, but there was never that character for Shelton Benjamin. And I guess you have to blame. I say blame, but you have to. It's on them. You know, they never evolved. They never became more than what they were brought in. They brought in as Team Angle. You know, you're put with probably the best wrestler at that time. Kurt Angle was on a terrific run. And you just didn't, after that was all over, you didn't have nothing for yourself. You know, you didn't take it anywhere. And again, maybe it's yourself, maybe it's creative, but...
Well, we can only example of The Rock. He did his own thing and drove a path for himself, you know.
But I guess with The Rock, you could tell that 6 months he took off between Rocky Maivia and coming back, he didn't learn that in 6 months. He must have had that in him, but never was able to show it because they had another idea for him. Maybe these other guys that we've mentioned today, Shelton Benjamin, Godfather, so on and so on, maybe they just didn't have that element of show business, entertainment, or whatever it may be in them. So just to round off, guys, is there anyone that you guys had that I haven't mentioned?
Yeah, what Rikishi?
Yeah.
Is Rikishi black? Or is he Samoan?
Samoan, no?
Samoan.
The Rock's bits, no?
Yeah, The Rock's Samoan, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's the Rock's dad is black.
So Rikishi not black, isn't it?
No, he's just fully Samoan.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we class Samoan as? Asian or what?
Is it South Pacific?
Yeah.
Pacific? I don't know what the exact term is.
You know, like there'd be Oceania, Australian side.
Yeah.
All that. I don't even.
There are people still, but there are
people.
They're not black, but there are people.
Yeah.
We're all in this ethnic thing together. But yeah, I think those were some of the main names in the black names, black wrestlers during the Attitude Era. I mean, it sounds like in just a roundabout way, we had two complete stars born of that time. Booker T, The Rock, others pretty much filled a solid role. And to be honest, apart from Viscera, that has unfortunately passed away pretty early on, a lot of these guys are still out here, alive, well, either working backstage in promotions, either some of them still wrestling, still relevant. So I think it's a good thing in terms of just ushering in the next generation. MVP, that's someone that's come a bit later than the Attitude Era. But if you guys see the kind of work MVP is doing right now, he's assembled basically. I wouldn't even say it's a pro-black group. They're called the Hurt Business. It's just full of black guys. Shelton Benjamin's part of it. A new up-and-coming guy, Cedric Alexander's part of it. Bobby Lashley's part of it. So, yeah. These are the kind of roles I would expect some of these guys to be having right now in terms of just like mentoring that next generation. Again, the likes of Booker T, he's very controversial for those that are watching the product today. Booker T is basically like what some might call Uncle Tomming. You know,
yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah?
think him and Mark Henry, they're being very careful of. Obviously, they've got positions, they're ambassadors, they're presenters on some WWE programming.
Yeah.
They're being very careful with keeping their jobs. One might say, and having controversial takes and opinions on some of the black wrestlers in WWE today. But it's like, these are your people. You should be mentoring them instead of criticizing them live in front of everyone. Why don't you can easily go backstage and
say something,
change this, do this better. You know, you've been there, you've done that. You know,
Where are they criticizing them on social media or
social media, their own platforms. They both have like their own podcasts and stuff like that.
okay. It's not even a creative thing.
Yeah.
No. So
Oh wow.
yeah, there was an incident a couple months back where Booker T had people were saying that they should give Naomi a chance. Like, Naomi's always given like rubbish stuff to do, and Booker T is like saying like nobody should be given a chance. You need to work for it, this, that, and the other. And to be fair, it's not that I disagree with anything that he's saying, but I think when you know like you're the minority in certain places, representation is already an issue in some of these places. You as an elder statesman, you don't need to come out and say that about your people. Now we know how the internet works these days. It's all about controversy and what sells and what's going to drive more listeners to his podcast, etc. But what is stopping him from going to Naomi, having a little personal conversation? Look, do you want me to mentor you to try and improve your career, show you how to do some things better, maybe even show you how to talk to some people backstage to get where you want? You see what I mean? Like, there has to be that level of looking after and ushering in the next generation, because otherwise it's like, what did you do it for? Your name's not gonna live forever.
Exactly.
Like,
Maybe behind closed doors though. You never know.
It may be, but it's like, that's what I mean. The berating doesn't have to be in the public. I don't believe. I think that's the issue, and especially where, like I say, we're black, we're the minority. All people want to do is see a black woman in this instance shine on TV. But now you're basically coming out and saying, well, she shouldn't just be given the women's championship and all this kind of stuff. Yes, no one's saying she should, but
no, of course not.
As an elder statesman, should maybe show her how to improve herself to put her in that position.
In that position to get there.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, because even if, he's going behind doors and like saying, okay, look, Naomi, like, let's try this, let's try that. If I'm Naomi, I'm telling him where to go. If he's done all that on the podcast.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Now, if that's to happen now and Naomi doesn't want to hear it, then yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I think it's definitely, I mean, look at Evolution. If we take Evolution as it, for instance, and I know we're going way off here, but it's all about Triple H, Randy, Ric Flair. These are the next guys, Batista, Randy Orton, and that whole, year or so of Evolution being on TV, and that it was to usher these men through, to make world champions or main eventers of Randy Orton and Batista, and they succeeded.
Yeah.
We need our own people maybe doing the same for us. And like I said, MVP is doing a brilliant job right now. But the likes of Mark Henry, Booker T, instead of coming out and just digging holes in people, let's be more productive here.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's be more productive here. And that's
definitely.
I think that's the message. But yeah, on that, I think we will bring this to a close. Guys, thanks for joining me again here on the channel, talking about all things black wrestlers during the Attitude Era. Guys, put down below in the comments if you had any fond memories of anyone that we mentioned today. And yeah, check out the rest of the black wrestlers playlist that I've put together on everything that is black wrestlers during this Black History Month. And I will chat to you guys later. Thanks again to Ray and Paul for joining me on this channel and us talking about the black wrestlers of the Attitude Era. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. We had some really big names, The Rock, Booker T, turn up and we discussed them. And obviously there were some other names that may have been forgotten in the conversation of the Attitude Era. Can't forget some of the brilliant women that came from the Attitude Era as well. Jacqueline, Jazz. It was a pleasure to talk about all of these competitors with Ray and Paul. So guys, I think this is probably going to be one of the last videos I do during this Black History Month special. Like Like I said, I had a pleasure putting this together, and I will always be adding to this playlist every Black History Month. For now, in the in-between time, Wrestle Extra every Wednesday, myself and A Dazzle from Black Wrestling Alliance. We talk all things black wrestling during that show. Like I say, every Wednesday on this channel. Make sure you tune in. Guys, if you enjoyed today's video, please make sure you hit the thumbs up button. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I drop a new video. WrestleManiac UK signing out, and I'll see you soon.